Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're about to take a deep dive into one of the biggest true crime cases in the universe. Or, at least, on our part of the planet. From the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.
Begins with a whisper. Not the kind of whisper that fades into nothing, but the kind that grows louder with every passing day, as more names are added to the list. The kind that makes powerful people lose sleep. At the center of it all is Sean Diddy Combs, music mogul, cultural icon, and now the accused. But Diddy isn't standing alone in this storm. Allegations of sexual misconduct and more serious crimes have not only cast a long shadow over him, but over the glittering circle of high-profile celebrities who have been at his side for years. But what if settling out of court doesn't mean safety? What if those whispered conversations and quiet legal agreements aren't enough to shield some of the most recognizable names from public exposure, or worse, from a federal criminal investigation? The man tasked with pulling back the curtain on these alleged misdeeds is attorney Tony Buzbee, a figure known for high-profile cases, and someone who isn't afraid to shake the very foundations of the entertainment industry. Representing 120 individuals who allege misconduct at the hands of Combs, Busby has launched a sweeping legal effort, and he's already sent out demand letters, polite but firm requests for settlement, to some of the most famous names in Hollywood. You see, while Diddy's parties were known for their extravagance, for the A-listers who roamed from room to room under flashing lights, and for the sense of freedom, there's another side to those events. A darker side. According to the allegations, these parties, sometimes described as freak-offs, weren't just wild gatherings of the rich and famous. Instead, they were places where drugs flowed freely, where young women were coerced into participating in activities they never signed up for. And, Busby says, it wasn't just Diddy who's to blame. Some of those very same celebrities that danced, laughed, and mingled with their fellow elites may have seen things they shouldn't have. Or worse, they may have participated in the cover-up. Busby, calm but firm, has made it clear that anyone involved in these alleged crimes won't be let off the hook. He's sent demand letters, the kind that offer an ultimatum. Settle now, quietly, or face a lawsuit that could drag your name through the public mud. Settling might mean saving face, for now. Some celebrities have already done just that. They've settled, and perhaps they thought that was the end of it. But as Busby and the federal investigators working on this case have made clear, even if a celebrity manages to avoid a public lawsuit, settling won't protect them from what's happening on the criminal side of this investigation. Yes, the civil cases are piling up. 120 accusers are enough to cause tremors through any industry. But behind those civil complaints is something much more threatening. A federal criminal investigation, which has already resulted in Combs being indicted on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. If federal authorities find evidence that any of these celebrities participated in illegal activities, no non-disclosure agreement or settlement is going to save them from the consequences. In the world of federal law, NDAs don't matter. And so, these celebrities, household names, people you've seen on your TV, heard on your radio, are faced with a choice: settle and hope for the best, or fight, knowing full well that the spotlight will be brighter and more unforgiving than ever? Tony Buzbee is used to big cases, and he's made a point of reminding the public that this case, this web of allegations, is being handled with care. He and his firm have fielded thousands of calls from people claiming to be victims. But Busby's team isn't simply taking every call at face value. They're doing their due diligence, combing through the accusations to weed out anyone looking for a quick payday. But the people they are representing? Those 120 individuals? They're not just voices on the phone. They're people, many of whom Busby claims have been suffering in silence for years. One woman described the atmosphere at these parties, claiming they were worlds where the rules of normal society didn't apply. The doors were locked, she said. You either played along or you got out. Busby has been cautious about revealing too much, at least for now. The lawsuits are coming, but the first ones won't name the celebrities. Instead, they'll focus on the corporate entities that Busby claims facilitated these events. It's a strategic move. Hit the businesses first. Those that provided the venues, the services, the money that kept everything running smoothly. Once those corporate cases are filed, then comes the next wave. The lawsuits that name names. You can almost feel the tension in the air. For years, these parties were spoken of in hushed tones, with an air of mystery and excitement. Now, those same stories are being retold, but with a darker twist, with the details that no one had ever imagined. Stories of coercion, of silence, of complicity. And what about the celebrities who settled? Their identities may remain hidden for now. But, as Busby reminds us, a settlement only buys time. It doesn't erase what's been done, and it certainly doesn't protect anyone from the broader criminal investigation. The walls are closing in, not just on Diddy, but on an entire network of people who thought they were safe, protected by their money, their fame, and their status. But, as history has shown us, no one is untouchable. As we move forward, the question becomes not just who will be named in the lawsuits, but how deep does this go? How many celebrities were present at these parties, aware of what was happening? And perhaps most crucially, how many knew and chose to remain silent? The anticipation is palpable. Every new piece of information that emerges adds to the growing sense of unease. As the lawsuits start to drop, and more names are dragged into the public spotlight, the scope of this case could grow far beyond just Diddy. It could reach into the heart of the music and entertainment industries, exposing the cracks in an empire that, for so long, seemed untouchable. And as for the celebrities who've already settled, they may sleep a little easier tonight knowing their names aren't in the papers, yet. But with the federal investigation looming, it's a fragile piece. Because in the end, no amount of money can protect you from the truth. The silence of those celebrities, their decision to settle, could be seen as an admission of guilt. Or perhaps just a desperate attempt to keep their names out of the public eye for a little longer. But whether they were directly involved or simply witnesses to the horrors alleged, their involvement could have serious repercussions if the federal investigation finds them complicit. In the end, it's not just about the money or the settlements, it's about justice for the victims, those who claim they were taken advantage of, coerced, or worse. It's about holding people accountable no matter their status or wealth. And as the cases continue to unfold, the public will be watching closely, waiting to see who will be next in line, and whether the powerful will finally face the consequences of their alleged actions. And so, we wait. Names may be whispered now, but soon enough they'll be spoken loud and clear in courtrooms and across the media. The question isn't whether more celebrities will be exposed, it's how many, and how far this will go before the truth is fully uncovered. But who are these mystery celebrities? That's the question that lingers over this case like a dark cloud. Rumors are swirling, speculation running wild across social media and entertainment circles. A-list actors, chart-topping musicians, industry executives, those who have long lived in the public eye, celebrated for their talent and charm, are now facing the harsh reality that their names could soon be dragged into the light. Tony Buzbee isn't naming names, not yet, but he's hinted that the people involved are well known, household names even. These aren't peripheral figures or bit players in the entertainment world. These are the people we see on red carpets, the ones we watch accepting awards, the ones whose music fills our playlists. They were at the parties. They were part of the inner circle. Busby has been strategic. Demand letters have gone out, warnings to these celebrities that lawsuits could be filed unless they agree to settle. It's a method that's both direct and discreet. The goal is clear: resolve the case quietly, before the media catches wind, before the public begins to ask questions. Some have taken the bait, opting to settle rather than risk the exposure. But here's the thing about settling. It doesn't mean the problem goes away. It's just a temporary fix, a bandage over a much larger wound. In the world of civil law, settlements can keep names out of the headlines for now. But Busby has reminded everyone involved that these civil settlements do nothing to protect those same celebrities from the larger threat looming on the horizon: a federal criminal investigation. Because what's happening behind the scenes is much more than a civil lawsuit. The federal government is involved, and federal investigators don't care about settlements or non-disclosure agreements. They're after the truth, the whole truth, and if they find it, no amount of money is going to shield anyone from criminal prosecution. The weight of that reality must be crushing for the celebrities involved. Every day brings the possibility that their names could surface in connection to these horrific allegations. They may have avoided the embarrassment of a public lawsuit, but they haven't avoided the spotlight entirely. You can imagine the panic, the meetings behind closed doors, the frantic phone calls with lawyers and PR teams. Damage control. How do you salvage a career, a reputation, when your name is linked to allegations of sexual misconduct and worse? Some have opted for silence, hoping that the tide will pass, that they'll be forgotten in the wave of lawsuits and accusations aimed squarely at Diddy. But hope is a fragile thing in the face of federal law enforcement. Federal investigators are working quietly, methodically, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, piecing together a timeline of events that stretches back years. These aren't just accusations from one or two individuals. We're talking about dozens, hundreds even, of people who have come forward, each with their own story, their own version of the events that took place behind the closed doors of Diddy's infamous parties. One woman described the scene vividly. You walked in, and everything was different. There were no rules, there were security guards at the doors, and once you were inside, it was like the rest of the world didn't exist. She claimed that drugs were handed out freely, that people were encouraged to let loose. And then there were the rooms. Private rooms, closed off to most. If you didn't know what was happening in there, it was because you weren't supposed to know. These aren't just wild parties we're talking about. According to Busby, these were orchestrated events where the lines between consent and coercion blurred, where individuals, many of them vulnerable, were pushed into situations they couldn't control, and, allegedly, the celebrities present weren't just passive observers. Some of them participated in the misconduct. Others helped cover it up, turning a blind eye to the things they saw, the things they knew were happening. And that's where things get messy. Because complicity, even silence, can be a crime. Federal authorities are focusing not only on the individuals directly involved in the assaults, but on anyone who may have facilitated them. Those who provided the venues, those who helped transport the individuals to and from these parties, those who allowed the illegal activities to continue without intervening. Some of the most recognizable names in Hollywood are believed to have been at these events. They may not have laid a hand on anyone. They may not have forced anyone to do anything. But they were there, they saw, and they said nothing. For years, these parties were whispered about, the subject of tabloid gossip and backstage chatter. But now, those whispers are turning into something much more tangible. Busby has stated that the lawsuits against corporate entities will come first. These corporations, some of them well-known brands, allegedly played a key role in enabling these events. They provided the infrastructure, the venues, the security, the resources that allowed Diddy's parties to operate without interruption. But after the corporations, the lawsuits will start to name individuals. And that's when things will really get interesting. These celebrities, these household names, could soon find themselves in the crosshairs of public lawsuits, their involvement in these parties, and their silence becoming part of the public record. Some of them have already settled. They may have thought that would be enough to protect them, but Busby has been clear. Settling a civil lawsuit doesn't mean your name won't come out in a criminal investigation. If federal authorities find that these individuals participated in, witnessed, or covered up illegal activities, they could face criminal charges. And that's the real danger. Civil lawsuits are one thing. Embarrassing, expensive, but survivable. Criminal charges, on the other hand, are something else entirely. There's no settlement that can get you out of federal prison. So, what happens next? That's the question on everyone's mind. Will more celebrities step forward to settle, hoping to avoid the glare of the media? Or will they dig in, preparing to fight the accusations, knowing full well that the public scrutiny could be devastating? The walls are closing in. The lawsuits are coming. And for those celebrities who were part of Diddy's inner circle, the ones who knew what was happening and chose to stay silent, their time may be running out. You can almost feel the tension building. It's in the whispered conversations at parties, in the sudden distance between people who were once close. No one knows for sure who has been named in the demand letters, and that uncertainty is part of what makes this so terrifying for those involved. At any moment, their name could be the next to drop. Their career could be the next to fall apart. And what about Diddy himself? He remains at the center of it all, the gravity pulling everything and everyone around him into this storm. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, and his legal team is preparing for a fight. But even as Diddy prepares for his own battle, the world around him is crumbling. Friends, colleagues, and associates are distancing themselves, hoping to avoid being dragged down with him. Yet the more distance they try to put between themselves and Diddy, the more questions are raised. What did they know? When did they know it? And why didn't they say anything sooner? Tony Buzbee isn't backing down. He's made it clear that the lawsuits against Diddy are just the beginning. There are more names to come, more revelations to be made, and for those celebrities who think they can escape the consequences by settling out of court, Busby has one final warning. The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard you try to bury it. So, as we wait for the next wave of lawsuits to hit, one thing is certain. This is far from over. The scandal surrounding Diddy and his infamous parties is just beginning to unfold, and with each new revelation, the stakes get higher. For the victims, justice is long overdue. For the celebrities and corporations involved, the reckoning is just around the corner. And as the lawsuits are filed and the names are revealed, the world will be watching, waiting to see who will fall next.
In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface.
So they said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
Where hidden killers roam, unnoticed, in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic, very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Buzbee as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Buzbee takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Buzbee.